April 1955, a normal week in Wichita Falls, Texas, was about to take a wild turn. Parker, a local promoter with a knack for the dramatic, called Mac with a plan so wild, it would make anyone question their sanity. Hang posters everywhere, Parker instructed Mac. On telephone poles, in store windows, even on people's foreheads if needed. Advertise Elvis like he's the next plague. And so, the city was flooded with Elvis posters, stickers, and even stick-on mustaches. It was chaos, but it worked. People were talking, and they were talking about Elvis. As the day of the big show approached, the buzz grew. The hillbilly cat Elvis Presley was coming to town. The auditorium was packed with fans, young and old, all eager to catch a glimpse of the king. Charlene Arthur and Bill Mack, local musicians, warmed up the crowd with familiar tunes before Elvis took the stage. The energy was electric. As Elvis stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted. Their cheers were so loud, they shook the very foundations of the auditorium. It was as if Elvis had brought the whole of Oklahoma and parts of Arkansas right to Wichita Falls. This wasn't just a concert, it was a phenomenon. Elvis moved effortlessly through the crowd, his charm disarming even the most skeptical fans. But as the night wore on, his playful nature got the better of him. After a particularly energetic performance, Elvis, still buzzing with excitement, playfully slapped a woman on the rump as he exited backstage. It was a moment that would stick in everyone's minds, including Bill Mack's, Elvis's manager, who happened to be standing nearby. Mac, a man used to dealing with Elvis's antics, simply replied, "I hope I didn't offend her." Elvis, ever the humble rock star, blushed and quickly excused himself to the dressing room. As he walked away, he whispered an apology to a nearby fan, unsure if he had crossed a line. Backstage, the night continued with its own set of stories. Jay Thompson, a local DJ and Elvis fan, was busy recording interviews with the stars. His goal was to give his listeners a glimpse into the lives of their favorite musicians. That night, he managed to snag an interview with Elvis, capturing the king's candid thoughts and humor. The interview revealed a side of Elvis that few had seen, a young man with a simple past who had traded truck driving for the spotlight. He talked about his early days, driving trucks in Memphis while learning to be an electrician. His break came when he made his first record at Sun Records, a chance encounter that changed his life forever. Elvis's rise to fame was meteoric, fueled by his unique sound and magnetic stage presence. His time on the Louisiana Hayride, a popular country music show, helped launch his career. Though he was no longer a regular there, the connections he made during those early days were still strong. Scotty Moore and Bill Black, his trusted bandmates, had been with him since those early days in Memphis. As the night drew to a close, Elvis thanked Jay and the audience for their support. He acknowledged the power of the fans, those who bought his records, attended his shows, and made him the star he was becoming. For Elvis, it wasn't just about the music, it was about the connection with people. That night, Wichita Falls became a small part of Elvis's legendary journey, a city that dared to dream big and welcomed the king with open arms. The shock of his arrival had turned into a celebration, a reminder that sometimes all it takes is a little chaos to spark something extraordinary. Elvis Presley's visit to Lubbock was nothing short of a whirlwind. The young singer from Memphis, who had only been in Lubbock once before for a small gig, returned to find the city in a frenzy. The Fair Park Coliseum, which usually seats 5,500, was packed to the brim with fans, with just as many standing outside, creating a scene that was more like a rock and roll concert than a regular show. As Elvis took the stage, the crowd's excitement was palpable. His appearance alone was enough to turn the place into a madhouse. At just 21 years old, with his distinctive long sideburns and a unique style that set him apart, Elvis had a presence that was hard to ignore. But it wasn't just his looks, it was his music and how he performed it that truly captivated the audience. You might think Elvis's voice was similar to singers like Johnny Ray, but it wasn't. While some said his style reminded people of Frank Sinatra's earlier days, Elvis's voice had a special energy to it. It wasn't just about the notes he hit, it was about how he delivered them. When he sang Heartbreak Hotel or Blue Suede Shoes, the crowd would go wild not just because of the song but because of the way Elvis made them feel. What really set Elvis apart was not just his voice, but how he moved. He wasn't just singing, he was telling a story with every shake and shimmy. His dancing wasn't like anything you'd see on stage before. It was raw, it was exciting, and it made the audience want to join in, even if they were just tapping their feet or bobbing their heads. The crowd was so enthusiastic that twice during the show, groups of teenagers tried to break through the barriers to get closer to Elvis. The police had to step in to keep things under control, but even then, it was clear that Elvis had a hold on these fans like few others could. People were asking the same question over and over: what is it about Elvis? His manager, Tom Parker, who had been with Elvis for a year, had a simple answer. "You see what he's doing now," he'd say. Elvis wasn't just a singer, he was a force of nature. His music, his style, his energy, everything about him was drawing people in. Elvis himself seemed a bit taken aback by the huge following he had gathered. When asked what he got that made people go crazy for him, he just shrugged. "I don't know what it is, but I sure hope it doesn't stop. I just sing." It was a humble answer, but one that underestimated the impact he had. On stage, Elvis wasn't just singing, he was performing. He'd play his guitar, not play it delicately, but beat it with passion. His face would light up or show intensity as he sang, mirroring the emotions in his songs. After singing, he'd step back from the microphone and let the energy of the music move him, shaking, rattling, and rolling in a way that was both wild and captivating. The results of Elvis's performances were undeniable. His record sales soared, fan clubs grew, and just a short time after his Lubbock visit, he signed a big deal with Paramount Studios. He was set to star in a film called The Rainmaker, alongside big names like Burt Lancaster and Katharine Hepburn. It was a huge opportunity, one that showed just how far Elvis had come in such a short time. Back in his dressing room, between autograph sessions and interviews, Elvis couldn't escape the attention. Fans wanted pieces of him, pictures, autographs, even signatures on their skin. Elvis handled it all with good humor, always willing to give a smile or a wave. Despite the chaos, Elvis remained grounded. He talked about the toll his busy schedule was taking, joking that a doctor said he'd do better doing manual labor for 8 hours a day. When asked about the draft, he laughed it off, saying he was just a normal, healthy American boy, though the idea of being drafted didn't sit well with him or his fans. Elvis Presley's performance in Lubbock was more than just a show. It was a spectacle that showcased a new kind of talent in music, one that blended sound, style, and sheer energy in a way that left a lasting impression on everyone who saw him. His rise was rapid, and it seemed like no one could stop the momentum. On April 13, 1956, Amarillo was buzzing with excitement. Elvis Presley, the young musician everyone was talking about, was in town. His car, which had broken down, needed some TLC, so he went to a local car dealership. The mechanics there were kind and fixed his Cadillac quickly. To thank them, Elvis gave each worker free tickets to his show that night at the municipal auditorium. The kids in Amarillo were thrilled. They packed themselves into a bus with their lunches, ready for a day of rock and roll. But when they got to the show, things took an unexpected turn. The auditorium was packed, and the kids were restless. They had brought snacks and were eager to see their hero perform. As the concert started, the energy in the room was electric. But when Elvis finished, something strange happened. The crowd, mostly teenage girls, got really excited. They began to push and shout, trying to get closer to Elvis. The bus that had brought them there was packed so full that it was hard for the kids to move. The police tried their best to keep everyone safe, but there were just too many people. After the first show, the crowd wouldn't leave. They stood outside, chanting for Elvis to come back out. The situation became a bit chaotic, but Elvis was cool under pressure. He waved from a window and even played some notes on the auditorium's organ. It was a fun and unexpected break from the usual concert routine. By the time the second show started, the police had to step in. They carefully moved the crowd away so Elvis could perform again. Even though things got a bit wild, everyone had a great time. Elvis learned that his music could bring people together, even if it sometimes caused a little chaos. A few days later, on April 15, 1956, Elvis was in San Antonio. The city was buzzing with anticipation. Elvis had just finished a show at the Jackie Gleason Theater and was about to head to the Ed Sullivan Show. But first, he had to deal with a huge crowd of fans. The Municipal Auditorium was sold out twice for his performances. The first show was a huge success, but things got out of hand quickly. 6,000 teenagers had bought tickets, more than anyone expected. The police, only 10 in total, struggled to keep the crowd in check. Fans were so excited that some tried to break through to Elvis on stage. Elvis tried to sign autographs from a window, but it wasn't enough. A girl fainted and others were getting upset. Elvis played a few chords on the auditorium's pipe organ to calm everyone down. It was a unique and memorable moment. By the end, the police had to physically move the fans to let the next show start. Despite the chaos, Elvis enjoyed the experience. He found that playing the pipe organ was fun and relaxing. It was a peaceful break from the crazy fan encounters. Later that day, in another city, Elvis faced an even more intense situation. After a performance, about 3,000 fans surrounded his dressing room. One girl was so excited that she fainted and was taken inside. Elvis and his team tried to help her, but the crowd was too big. The managers tried to set up a line for autographs, but the crowd pushed too hard. Elvis and his team did their best to help the girl and keep everyone safe. In the middle of the chaos, Elvis found a moment to connect with the girl, making her feel better. It was a reminder that even in the wildest moments, kindness can make a difference. Elvis Presley's visits to Amarillo and San Antonio in 1956 were more than just concerts. They were moments that showed how his music could bring people together, even if it sometimes led to a bit of mayhem. These experiences helped shape Elvis's career and left a lasting impression on the fans who saw him live. His ability to connect with people through music would go on to make him one of the most iconic figures in music history.